Hello and welcome along to the first of two races for you this afternoon here at Brands Hatch for the BRSCC's ZEO Prototype Sports Car Cup. For those of you with long memories of BRSCC, as indeed I have, you might remember the halcyon days of Thunder Sports and the like, and this is very much to me a current day version of that. Two 20-minute races. It's going to be very busy here out on the Indy circuit today. Thankfully we've got a huge array of different sports prototype cars on the grid, some superb drivers who we're going to talk to, and well, let's start it off by chatting to the man who's qualified on pole position today. A name known to many of you, a multi-champion in British motorsport, Mike Genvy in the Genvy gun. Mike, very good afternoon to you. Congratulations on getting pole position, and your thoughts really looking forward to the race here at Brands.
Well, yeah, it was mixed conditions in qualifying, so fingers crossed it's going to be dry for this race. So we're actually in a bit of a hybrid setup between wet and dry, so hopefully it'll be okay and the tyres will last. It's warming up a bit. I think it's going to be a cracking race.
It's been a lottery, hasn't it, all day? You know, we've been coming out here chatting to the drivers before they go out on circuit. Normally as soon as we appear with the camera it starts raining. As soon as we disappear with the camera and racing starts, it dries up, but things looking a little bit more settled at the moment.
Seems to be. You better get the camera out of the way though. Yeah, it seems to be. I think it looks like it's going to be dry. It's just gone really hot all of a sudden, so I don't fancy Matt in the enclosed cockpit behind me, but yeah, not too bad. So no, just looking forward to it now, just ready to get going.
It could be tough for Matt. It's going to be tough for all of you actually, because it's a very mixed field. The Indy circuit is one of the shorter tracks probably that you race on, so although you've earned pole position, that also gives you the right to maybe deal with some traffic once we get into the race as well. So how does that settle in your mindset?
Yeah, I mean, we were at 44-second lap here was qualifying, so it's pretty quick. We tried to dip into the 43s but didn't quite make it. Yeah, there's just some air. If you get caught up in the complex at the back, you just have to wait, you know, and we'll take that approach. You'll be a bit aggressive, but at the same time, a do or die isn't going to help at all, and if the guys behind catch up, we'll just have to pull away again.
The car bears your name, Mike. What's your exact involvement in the engineering side and the development of the car?
All of it. I mean, the car's originally built by Gary Gunn. I've owned the car for quite a few years. Did Sports 2000 for quite a few years, and since then it's been very heavily developed by myself, with my dad's help as well. A bit more power than Sports 2000, so it's 300 horsepower, it's a light car, lots of aero, and big top, big slicks. So no, fantastic. There's not a better car. I just love these cars.
It's great, isn't it, that you can, get involved in, engineer the car and come out and race it. It's a 100% involvement and guest satisfaction as well when you get to the top step of the podium, and indeed the championship titles you have.
Yeah, it's a challenge when things go wrong with such a short turnaround between races. But yeah, we've always done it like that. Occasionally I think, well, maybe I'd like the luxury of someone doing it all for me, but I enjoy it, and it's obviously everything we do with the car kind of increases my knowledge in terms of the business Genvy dynamics as well.
Fantastic stuff. Well, thanks for chatting to us, mate. Well done on pole position, and hopefully we'll see you the other end. I'm not sure we're going to get to do a podium interview, but I'm sure the guys from the circuit will.
I'll be waiting for you, but if you're not there, so be it.
We won't be able to catch up with you. Well done, mate. Well, good luck for the race, and thank you for talking to us, Mike Genvy. As I mentioned, we've got a very eclectic grid, and another superb car. You look at all these cars front on, and the hairs on the back of your neck very much go up. This one as well, super livery here. Charles Hall in the Sheeran. Charles, second position. You're going to take the battle to Mike first of all?
Oh, well, I hope so, but as everyone knows, Mike's quite a quick peddler, so I've got my hands full with that one. But it's our first weekend in race with the car, so looking forward to seeing how this goes in race one. We started off on Friday at Silverstone and didn't quite go to plan, where we ended up having to change a corner last night, but it was good to meet Henry Chiron, the designer and builder of the car. We were up until it was going dark yesterday, actually, on the flat pad, and he was helping us with all the tweaks, and so that was really nice. And this year so far, I've just been really doing quite a lot of hill climb with the race with Empire Racing, and the boys have come down today on Sunday to help Spanner and support us today. So we're looking forward to getting race one out of the way, and then we can see what it's all about and get a bit of experience.
So how did the deal with to get the Chiron come about?
it came on the market, and then my old man actually surprised me when he told me he bought it, so I didn't know he was doing it. So he's had it in his garage and he's been playing around with it for since last year. And it's now it's the first time we've got out in it, but it's a hell of a car. It's probably the best car with the most downforce I've ever driven. So yeah, it put a real smile on my face.
Are you enjoying the different disciplines that you do? You're talking about hill climbs and obviously circuit racing, completely different. And as I just said to Mike Gemby, very tight around here, so you're going to be in traffic quite soon. Yeah,
I mean, there's a little bit of difference on speed on cars, but everybody knows what they're doing. It's been really quick, you know. It's good. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to the race.
Okay, Charles. Best of luck for the race. They're firing up engines now, so we'll let you crack on with that. I'm not sure if we're going to get a chance to talk to Matt Manderson. I think the clearing up exercise was done quite quickly, but we've got Matt Manderson in the Norma, one of the sports prototypes with the bubble cover. Very much the sort of car that you would expect maybe to see at Le Mans, and that's really where the drivers are sort of thinking about, not necessarily maybe making the move up into prototype sports car racing, but they could get there, and they're showing the aspirations to the British general public in a national rotor race meeting here. The car's now going to the grid, so great that we had a chance to catch up with our two front runners. Let's now go back into the commentary box and have a word with Scott Woodward, who'll talk through the whole grid and give us a build-up for the big race. Over to you, Scott.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, I won't deny this is a race which I've been quite looking forward to this afternoon, which is the first of two for the ZEO Prototype Cup. It's great to have sports prototype racing back on the BRSC bill after an absence of about a year and a half or so. And of course there is a fantastic array of machines which will get underway here. Just as they get going, look what's appeared on the camera. A few spots of rain. This should be interesting. So the cars will form up 2x2. It will be a rolling start, and there's plenty of variety on this grid. It's not just a grid full of one make machinery. It's lots of different makes, lots of different models, and plenty of cars which will certainly make quite a great noise and sight around the tight 1.2 mile Brands Hatch Indy circuit. I remember one of the last few sports prototype races I've seen around here where we had 4 very different cars in 4 very different classes, but they were very evenly matched in terms of the tight nature of the 1.2 mile circuit, and therefore they had a really close run race all the way through from top to bottom. So, let's quickly run through the grid then, as we go through from the top to bottom and run you through some of the cars, some of the drivers who are appearing in this first of 2 20-minute races for the ZEO Prototype Cup. On pole position, it's former OSS champion Mike Gemby and his self-engineered Gemby Gun TS6. Alongside him is Charles Hall, former single-seater racer in the Chiron CN2. Then the awesome Norma LMP3 car driven by former British GT champion Matt Manderson, car owned by Duncan Williams, which we'll get to him in a minute. It's then Graham Charman and his 2006 Juno sports car. Row 3 is in it should be the Simon and Tony Freeman Radical SR10. In fact, actually, I think it's Andy Kimpton and Andy Fido, I think, because there's a couple of cars that are sharing the cars. You've then got, let's look at the rest of the grid. You've then got the TTR 01 on the grid in the mix as well. That's the car being driven by Richard and Matt Chamberlain, with Chris Child and Andy Chittenden in the mix as well, and his MCR. The other MCR, Tony Barwell, is on the grid. Lee Collier's unique ADR3 will be on the grid as well, along with Jay Shepherd in the very also unique Mazda engine UK MPO1 Evo, and Dominic Landon Down and Robert Lease in a pair of Radicals as well. So get ready for some noise here at Brands Hatch, the first of 20-minute races for the ZEO Prototype Cup. It's Gemby and Hall in the front row of the grid, but watch for the LMP3 Norma of Matt Manderson and the Graham Charman Juno. Away we go for the first ZEO race here at Brands Hatch. It's side by side for the lead between Gemby and Hall into turn 1 for the first time, and it is Gemby Gun that leads it from Chiron in second place. The Juno is third, and looks like Manderson dropped back a little bit into fourth place. There's a spin already down at Paddock Hill Bend. That's one of the Radicals has gone around. Everyone's managed to miss him, thankfully, but as the race gets underway, it is Gemby that leads. Hall in second place. Charman's up to third from the second row of the grid. In fourth place, it is Matt Manderson in the Norma. Fifth place there for the number 12 car. That is Andy Fido, past, I think it might have been Andrew Kimpton that had the spin. Because also in there too is the number 15 CTR01. That's quite a unique sports prototype. It's been engineered by the Chamberlains, Richard Chamberlain and his son Matthew. Richard Chamberlain, a GT Cup veteran, and already, given the car that's had the spin, it is Andrew Kimpton at the bottom of the hill. Safety car has already been deployed to deal with that. So the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety car has already been called, and I hope everyone sees the other flags and slows right down before Paddock Hill Bend, which they do, thankfully. Good job by everyone on track to do so, and they're all at a very crawling speed, very reduced speed as they head past Andrew Kimpton's stalled car. So if then getting back going again, that'd be quite a positive, but at least, of course, what isn't a positive for Andrew is the fact that his car is now a lap down on the leaders. So, as they continue on, it was a brief burst of noise there for the ZEO prototype cars, but brilliant start for them anyway. It's Mike Genvy who then continues to lead. It's then Charles Hall in second place, Charman third in the Juno, fourth place for Matt Manderson in the Norma LMP3. You can't really miss that car, the great big, the bare carbon fibre liveried Norma with the ZEO prototype logos plastered all over it. You can see it's there in fourth position. Fifth place for the number 12 Radical of Andy Fido. Sixth for the Chamberlains in their CTR01. I can't quite tell exactly which. I'm going to say possibly what it is given by the order they set their times. I'm going to have a go at say it's Matthew in that car first of all. Richard, I think, will be sharing it for the second race. Alistair Smart is currently 7th in the next to the Radicals. Then it's the 46 car that comes next, which is Chris Child, followed by Jay Shepherd, who's a very experienced racer himself in a car that's new to the UK, not been in the UK for very long. It's an American-built Sebaco UK NPO1, which is a closed-top sports prototype chassis with a Mazda MX-5 2-litre engine in the back of it. Quite a potent car. We're looking to try and bring a few more of those over into the UK at some point, to possibly even go forwards to get them a few cars running on track together rather than just the one. Andy Chittenden is 10th in the first of the two MCRs on track. The Freemans, it's Simon and Tony Freeman. We're going to have a go and say it's Simon at the wheel of this first race for one of the newer Radical SR10. That's quite a new spec of Radical that's on the grid. We've then got Anthony Barwell's MCR. Dominic Landon Down is another sports prototype veteran in his Radical, and Lee Collier in his yellow ADR3. I think that's an Australian-based chassis. A car that was built back in Australia at one point is there in 14th place. There is the 01 car, Jay Shepherd in that very striking looking black and fluorescent yellow MPO1. The livery there with the Wasp logos. That's the Worthington and Shepherd Performance Parts sponsored car. Now, safety car lights are already out once more. So, only one lap behind the Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety car, sponsored by Run Your Fleet. As now, Mike Genvy gets the racing back underway. The ZEO prototypes are back up to full speed here at Brands Hatch, and Genvy shoots down towards Paddock Hill Bend with a great lead already from Charles Hall in second place. It's Manderson who is now up into third. There should be Charman in third place, because I think there's a problem with his timing screen. So, the transponder. So, Charles Freeman. I'll get it in a minute. Graham Charman is currently third. There we go. Fourth place for the Norma LMP3 of Matt Manderson, who back at Silverstone for their first ever race had a great battle with Duncan Williams, the owner of the Norma LMP3. You see on the screen there. Oh, 2 cars off. That's Andy Fido in the gravel, and just escaping the scene is the Chamberlains in their CTR01. And so I'm afraid for the second time in this race, the safety car has been called yet again. So, unfortunately, Andy Fido's race doesn't last more than effectively just about a lap's racing, and then safety car, and then the first corner at Paddock Hill Bend. So I'm afraid safety car has been scrambled once more. There are yellow flags down at there, of course, and the safety car does indeed make its way back onto the circuit. Andy Fido is out. I think if there is any damage, it might be minimal, so hopefully that car will be good enough to get back out in for race number 2. But for the second time, the Jaguar is back out on the back straight and ready to pick up the cars in the field. So I think maybe everyone needs to just settle down a little bit on the restart and just run their race for the first couple of laps. I'm sure that the clerks of the course and also the coordination team would just say, just take it steady, everyone, these first couple of laps, because these are pretty rapid machines and therefore just require a lot of skill to keep them on the road trouble-free. So maybe these guys need to just settle down a little bit in the first couple of laps, not try and make any big darting moves up the inside anywhere, and just get the tyres up to temperature again, back up at racing speeds, and then they'll be able to get going. So the snatch vehicle has already got itself onto the scene, thankfully, so it can remove the stricken Radical of Andy Fido. And whilst we're on the safety car again, a bit more time to talk about the ZEO Prototype Cup. So the series is looked after by Duncan Williams, who's been a long time. It's been created by Duncan Williams, who has been a long-time sports prototype racer himself. He's raced before when the BRSCC had the OSS Championship, which is very much a similar vein to this series. And he raced that in that car. He raced a Juno. He had his own Ligier as well. And, of course, now he's been more recently racing the LMP3, which it's exactly the same car that's racing here that he drove at Silverstone and is now entrusted in the hands of Matt Manderson, the man who actually had a really good battle with in the first race at that very first round at Silverstone. and Matt Manderson actually came out on top in the Radical SR8. So a Radical SR8 beat the LMP3 car. It was slightly damper and wetter conditions, but nonetheless, brilliant scrap between the pair of them. And then we were denied that in the second race when a small mistake on the exit of Brooklands saw the LMP3 car just spinning off on the exit of the corner and just backed it into the wall. And unfortunately, the damage sustained meant that it had a premature end to that second race, and we were certainly looking forward to when that was happening at the time. And therefore, Mike Genvy came through to win that race. I think there was also issues for Matt Manderson's car as well when he fell back. So, but the series itself is created by Duncan Williams. ZEO is an offset of the X-Cool company, which Duncan Williams owns and runs, and Duncan oversees it, and of course, and his daughter Grace, who is doing a wonderful job with the series to get lots more drivers involved, and they've put a lot of effort in terms of the big transporter they have and the catering they have on site as well, and all the kind of the general enthusiasm and all the work they're putting in already for the series really is starting to pay off. So wonderful work by Grace and her coordination and an admin team to get that involved. Ooh, steady chaps, that's quite an expensive Radical you need to have to be hanging off the crane, but they're doing a grand job to at least get it in position to get it back to the paddock as quickly as possible after the race finishes, so that hopefully Andy Fido can get the gravel shaken out of the car and get it all back in line for the second race later on this afternoon. That will be the last race of the timetable today. The safety car then brings the pack around. Just quickly as well, whilst we're under the safety car, just to quickly run through some of the class structure, because for those who might not have seen this series before and possibly might be watching and have a sports prototype, or know someone that does and might want to get involved, well, what is the class structure in terms of the fitting the criteria? Well, in terms of what you can race in, here is how it works. So the first four classes are all determined by engine size. So if you've got a sports, for example, it's Class A for sports prototypes, which are under 2 litres and over. And then you have the Class B for engine sizes up to 2 litres, up between 1401 and 2 litres, up to 1400cc for Class C, up to 1000cc for Class D. Then you have the SR3 standard engine class for Class E. The Class F cars are the CN Spec LMP3 cars. There's the invitation class as well, but more on that later as the racing gets back underway. And so let's try this again, shall we? Down towards Paddock Hill Bend now for the third time on after a safety car restart. And it is now Genvy who leads the way. It's Hall in second place, Charman third, Manderson fourth. Up into fifth place now through all of that has now come Alistair Smart in his Radical PR6. Sixth place for Chris Child. Seventh for Tony for the Freemans in their Radical SR10. Eighth is now the Jay Shepherd MPO1 sports prototype. And then 9th and 10th we have the two MCR chassis, that being Andy Chittenden and Anthony Barwell. So it was up the inside, and Charles Hall makes contact with that Mike Genvy up the inside into clearways. He backs off a little bit to let him through again, but that was a very daring move up the inside from Charles Hall to get past. So Mike Genvy does survive, and he holds on to the lead, and Charles Hall just backs off a little bit just to let him have a bit more space before he tries to attack again. So Genvy Gunn leads Chiron, leads Juno, leads Norma. 4 different sports prototype chassis are in the mix here as they turn up through Druids again for another time. This is on their 9th lap of racing, a few of which have been spent behind the safety car, but they're now getting up to speed again. And this short, sharp 1.2 mile circuit, it might be quite a brief lap. Fastest car setting about 46, 47 second lap times, but it certainly does mean that it's quite a little speed bowl, which is great for Brands Hatch. There's Graham Charman in the Juno. Great to have one of those cars out. There's plenty of Junos that are around, not just the UK, but Europe as well. Lots of sports prototype racing takes place over on the continent. And I know that there's possibility for some sports prototypes that reside over in Europe, particularly France, that might be possibly trying to convince over here into the UK to have a go. There's a few cars that will be coming over, and we're expecting possibly around 20 cars for the season finale at Donington Park. They're only having 3 meetings this year ahead of a fuller campaign next year. But great to see the sports prototype racing back with the BRSEC, and of course massive credit and thanks to Duncan and to Grace and everyone at ZEO for making it happen, because it's great to have these beautiful cars, these striking machines back out on circuit, and really putting on a great spectacle just for us here, not just on the live stream, but for all the spectators that we have here this weekend at Brands Hatch. And once again, with motorsport life getting back to some kind of normality, now we're sort of coming to the exit of the global situation, at least here in the UK. Things are now starting to get much better. It's great to have people trackside, not just to see them, but to experience the sound and the feeling and the noise of these cars. It's so great to see sports prototypes. They're striking cars to look at, and they're striking cars to listen to as well. There goes the Freemans and their Radical SR10. Also on the comeback trail are the Chamberlains in the CTR01. He blasts past the two. I'm going to say it's Matthew Chamberlain. He blasts past the two MCRs, the Sports 2000 spec MCRs, which of course all those cars that we fit in that chat series are welcome in ZEO, and they're about to go to combat themselves. Oh, I think there's a bit of contact there, I think, between those two. Very, very briefly, but they managed to carry on. So, getting a bit feisty out there in the first ZEO prototype race here at Brands Hatch. Charles Hall sets the new fastest lap of the race, as the lead gap at the moment is now 0.6 of a second, so we need to keep an eye on that in a second, because that's getting pretty close. Meanwhile, the Matthew Chamberlain car is just coming up to behind Jay Shepherd in the MPO1, so keep an eye out for that. I think we need to go back to our leads in a second, because they are nose to tail out of my commentary box window, coming out of Graham Hill Bend. Here is the Chamberlain as he blasts past in the CTR01, past the Mazda engined NPO1 chassis. As he turns his way out through Paddock Hill Bend up towards Druids, they continue on with less than 8 minutes to go. Back at the top of the hill. And there's the two sports prototype, the Sports 2000 cars that we have, the MCR cars. That being Andy Chittenden's number 48, ahead of Barwell in the 71. Great to have them on the grid. Nice to see all different types of cars in the field. And that's the beauty of the ZEO prototype series, is that the variety is pretty much endless. If you've got a sports prototype that simply fits the very simple regulations of either engine size, or if it's a CN spec prototype, or even an LMP3 car, even something that fits in the invitation class, everyone is welcome. And so if you are watching thinking this is quite fun and I want to have a go at this, well, of course we have got the final rounds at the end of September in Donington Park. Everyone's welcome to come and get involved. And certainly, if you enjoy the spec you see here and have got a sports prototype, definitely get yourself on the grid, because certainly this is becoming quite a fierce race between the top two here. Mike Genvy in the Genvy Gun TS6 and Charles Hall in the Chiron CN2. Make their way back in towards Druids again, and Charles Hall looking to the outside line. Look at the grip and the actual adhesion on the track to the Chiron as he sails right underneath the rear wing of Mike Genvy's car. Genvy being put under a massive amount of pressure down Cooper Straight. The speed of these cars down the short Cooper Straight and into Surtees, the absolute pace of these cars is phenomenal. And up the inside goes Charles Hall with a big dive into clearways. He's made the move stick and he's through. He's done it. A big move. Last time it didn't quite work when he tried that, when there was contact, but this time he managed to catch Mike Genvy unawares. Genvy comes back and down the pit straight. They're side by side. Brilliant racing between the top two. Genvy back round the outside. Hall back down the inside into Paddock Hill Bend. It's not finished yet. Fantastic stuff between the two leaders. Hall back into the lead now. Genvy comes back at him. There's Lee Collier in the ADR. Here come the top two with Charles Hall in front. Even though there's probably a bit of a grimace on the face of these two drivers whilst they're racing, behind that there'll be a big smile thinking this is brilliant racing, and I'm sure there'll be a massive handshake between them two and a hug between them, because that'll be two drivers that will have fought pretty hard towards the end, and that won't help Charles Hall getting stuck behind Lee Collier's ADR3, who does move out of the way. That's good driving from Lee, well done, keeping his line to allow the leaders through. They're going to come up to now the two MCRs now. Anthony Barwell will be the first one of those. No, sorry, it'll be Andy Chittenden, because there's been a change between those two. So Chittenden will then have to relinquish track position, which he does. So good driving from Andy. And next will be Anthony Barwell as he locks up into the hairpin. Probably looks at the mirrors and thinking, oh crikey, there's the two leaders, I better jump out of the way. So 5 minutes to go in this race, and we've got quite a contest here as Charles Hall, he's not afraid to dive down the inside of anyone, is he? Whether it's a lapped car or a position, but he's certainly quite daring. You can tell he's come from a single-seater background where it's simply lastable 8 breakers, and he really is giving it a really good go here. Charles then turns his way in the Chiron all the way through. He's got the Freemans in the Radical SR10 battling with the MPO1 of Jay Shepherd. There he goes past the Mazda engined sports prototype. There is car 46. That is Chris Child in his Radical SR4. Currently sat at the moment second in Class C. Of course, there are classes with this, as we mentioned. So it's currently first, second and third for the top 3 cars in Class B. Then it's 4th place and leading Class A for the Matt Manderson Norma LMP3, although I'd imagine it might be in Class E, I would have thought, being an LMP3 car. It's 5th place overall and leading Class C is Alistair Smart ahead of Chris Child, and then in 3rd place in that class is Lee Collier in the ADR3. And then there is there's no cars in Class D, 1 car in Class E, which is the Dominic Langdon down radical for the SR3 original engine category cars, and that seems to be it for the classes. So of course there's that class for the CN Spec and LMP3 cars. As I mentioned, there is an invitation class if anything that doesn't fit out the regulations but would be quite a welcome addition, can also jump in. So if anyone's got any kind of sports prototype, no matter what sport it might be, I'm sure that if it doesn't fit inside the class structure, it would at least have a place in invitation and certainly be welcomed on the grid by Grace, Duncan and co in the paddock. 3.5 minutes left. Charles Hall now extending his lead over Mike Genvy. And Genvy, his history in racing includes, of course, times in the Sports 2000, of course, where that car originally came from. He's been developing it himself and started competing in what was the OSS Championship previously, where it was a very similar vein to this series. And that car's even appeared in Time Attack, has Mike Genvy with the Genvy gun. I've seen that a couple of times in that series. Oh, and just Charles Hall so close to Chris Child under brakes there. He really is in a hurry, isn't he? It's almost like he has to get home after these two races. So he's trying to get the first race out of the way quickly, then the second race, and then quickly dash home for something. But great stuff from Charles anyway to continue to extend his lead. His last lap was 0.3 quicker than Genvy. The gap is still roughly around just under a second, so incredibly, whilst Charles Hall's got some kind of a pace advantage, it's not so much that he's completely pulling away by a massive amount from Mike Genvy. Even if it looks quite big, you have to remember these cars are going that quick, so it might look like quite a substantial gap, but it will be quite a larger gap if it was a slower car, whereas these cars are so quick that what might look substantial is only about 0.8 of a second. Here, looking back here, Lee Collier has caught up to the back of Andy Chittenden to try and get a move here. So the ADR3 about to make a move here on the Class B MCR. And how cool is this? You get a car which you don't always see too much against a car which, if you've watched other series like Sports 2000, a very common car you see in that series. But how great it is that a car that is more drawn to other particular series' regs up against a rather unknown sports prototype, and two of them having a grand race between each other. As now Collier looks to have a peek up the inside, considers it, gives it the room, says, well, if you want to come past me, make it stick, and he does. So Collier then does get through. Chittenden down a position, so that is now Collier up to 11th place overall. And now they head their way down the Cooper Straight, and now the next target for Collier, if he can catch him with a short space of time left, will be the other MCR with Anthony Barwell at the wheel. So that will be a move he'll try to make for position in the top 10. There they go out of the right-hander at Clark Curve. Meanwhile, our leaders are making their way out of Graham Hill Bend. Just the pace of the car through the corner there, the way it just grips and goes. The amounts of downforce and grip from the slick tyres this car will feel is going to be quite mighty. But Charles Hall certainly, at the moment, has the measure over Mike Genvy. Genvy's not an easy driver to beat. Unless you've got just more outright performance, Genvy can hang with the best of them no matter how much power and downforce they have. So he really is quite a prominent driver. Hall with a new fast lap of the race, and Genvy's pretty much matching him. They both did 44.8, but it was a fraction faster by, what was that, 0.07 of a second for Charles Hall. So grand stuff from all involved. That's a lap that's been put on. I'm guessing that's going to be Alistair Smart. He's put a lap on. So that's a change there. And then there goes Charles Hall down the back straight for the second to last time, because next time by they will get the last lap board. There's Norma with Matt Manderson at the wheel. Good to see that still going. Makes a fantastic thunderous noise with that V8 in the back. I think it's a Nissan V8 if I'm correct. Beautiful sounding car, brilliant looking car as well. It's not painted, pure carbon fibre livery, pure naked carbon fibre with the little sort of accents on there for the lime green, the branding colours of ZEO, and also the ZEO prototypes livery on the back of that car. Meanwhile, I think we're looking out for our leaders, who are going to come through 30 second now. There's Jay Shepherd, and here is the rest of the pack. He is just coming through Graham Hill Bend, as we see now Matt Manderson heading up his way through Clear Race and Clark Cove. He's on the back of the MCR, putting a lap on him. There goes Jay Shepherd as they turn in through the right-hander. But our leaders are just about to make their way out of the final couple of the corners. It was a bit of an interrupted race at the beginning, but in the end it's going to be a victory across the line for Charles Hall as he comes up towards the checkered flag and takes victory in the first ZEO Prototypes race here at Brands Hatch, with Mike Genvy just on his tail, only behind by 0.3 of a second, and he really closed in the end. It was a new fastest lap of the race for 44.6, and he just about beat him, just about got the fastest lap, but he only just missed out on the win by 0.3 of a second. So great battling all the way from those two. They would have thoroughly enjoyed that. Third place is going to go to Graham Charman in the Juno. Here he comes across the line to take third place overall and third in Class B. It's a winning Class C for Alistair Smart, so he wins the category in his PR6. Matt Manson will come through in the LMP3. And he has come through to take fourth position. And also class wins for Dominic Landon down in Class E. And, of course, Matt Manson, who was in Class A, is able to win that as a bit of a glitch with our camera there. But there's Mike Genvy, second overall, second in Class B. That was quite an entertaining and high-paced race from start to finish. A couple of little brief safety car interruptions at the beginning, but everyone else managed to make the flag after we got racing finished up for proper. So, as the cars make their way back around to pit lane at the conclusion of that first ZEO Prototypes race, which was thrilling from the very beginning, we'll be able to give you a quick rundown of the results. So, Charles Hall is declared the winner provisionally on that one by 0.3 of a second from Mike Genvy in second place. So Chiron beats Genvy Gunn, and it's the Juno of Charman in third place. Here are the results. With Charman in third position, at least there should be the results on the screen, but I've got them on my timing screen here. So Hall, Genvy, and then Charman in third place. Manderson in fourth place in Class A in the normal LMP3. Fifth for Alistair Smart in the Radical PR6. He also wins Class C. Manderson, of course, to confirm, was also Class A winner. Sixth overall and second in Class C was Chris Child. Seventh place goes to the Chamberlains in their CTR 01. Fourth in Class B. But in the rest of the class, next to a couple of cars are fifth and sixth in the category. That's the Jay Shepherd MPO1 with the Mazda engine, and Anthony Barweller with the MCR. Lee Collier rounds out the top 10, third in Class C, followed by Andy Chittenden, 11th and 7th in Class B in the MCR. Dominic Landon down, the sole Class E representative, finishes 12th, and then we lost, sadly, Tony the Freemans late in the race in the Radical SR10. We had Andy Fider off in the gravel at Paddock Hill Bend after the incident, and Andrew Kimpton, who had a spin at the same place as well.